right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the home base meetup for Schoolnet to kick off the 2021-2022 school year. Getting us started today, we have Dr. Rob Dietrich, the home base manager, so I will turn it over to him. And I think you muted, Rob.
Today we will all learn after 2020 to 2021. You'd think we'd all know that by now. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the home base meetup for Schoolnet today. We are very excited to have you here and take time out of your last week in July to be here with us. As you know, these meetings are extremely important to us as we believe that this is our best way to communicate with you and get feedback from you. Next slide, please. There is your WebEx slide. Everything WebEx that you need to know right there in front of you. You have the captions on the right, on the left, bottom left, if you need. If you have questions, please remember that QA only the panelists can see. In the chat, everyone can see. And then you have a guide there to help you, and you have your functionality there at the bottom. Next slide. I want to give everybody a quick home base meetups overview. There are some people who don't know what home base is, so we're going to start there. Next slide. Home base will be the definitive seamless go-to digital resource for North Carolina. It includes those products, the student information system, which is PowerSchool, the instructional improvement system, which is Schoolnet, the learning management system, which is Canvas, the open education resource, which is GoOpenNC, the educator evaluation system, which is NESIS, the digital literacy, which is learning.com, and a supplemental math program available through convenience contract of Imagine Math. Next slide, please. You guys pretty much all know the purpose of the home base meetups. As I've said earlier, this is just for us to hear from you, you to hear from us, and for us to have good collaborative time and communicate back and forth with each other. Next slide. There is the schedule for the week. Please make sure that you click on the links to get the information that you need by each product. I know many of us wear multiple hats, and I will see you throughout the week, which I am glad to do. Tomorrow, please know we have a double dose with PowerSchool and with learning.com, with Canvas on Thursday and GoOpen following up on Friday. Next slide, please. There is the schedule for the week. You will notice that we are still looking for places to go to in September, November, and May. We are trying to still find locations. So if you are interested, John, if you click in that upper right corner, when you get these slides, if you click there, it will take you to a Google Doc, because we as Digital Teaching and Learning are also looking for more places for the fall reconnect in September. And there you see the home-based meetups there at the bottom. There is an outline of everything that we need or that we are looking for. So please, if you are willing to give us some space, we would appreciate it for those two events. Thank you, John, and fill out the form on the bottom if you are interested. Thank you, sir. That is where you will find all the presentations that will be occurring this week here as we go through the week. Those will get, the slide decks will be there every week, as well as we will send out these recordings on usually every Friday. Next slide. Home-based meetup updates. Next. Here's our social media. There's all our social media call signs. As well, what we have added this year is on the bottom there, that YouTube. If you click on that on YouTube home base overview, it will be a little cartoon that will explain everything that's home base in about 5 minutes. And it's something that the home base team created for you. If you want to share that with others, to please let them know who we are and what we do, please do. Thank you. And next slide. I do have some quick information on the entire home base suite of products. A SIS upgrade is coming August 6th through the 9th. We are moving to version 20.11.3. If you're interested in learning more, please attend the home base SIS meetup on Wednesday. I do encourage all of you to look into Canvas Studio. That is something that we are getting at $1 per user across the state, and I think it would be very beneficial for you. Schoolnet, I would love to have an LEA pilot the Transcend program that they have. I would love to see someone on this call maybe say, hey, we're interested in Transcend. Can you send us some more information? we have a new principal pilot rubric underway. And I also have a home base opportunity here that I will be posting. I'm not sure if it got posted yesterday or it should be posted today, but I will get that out to you. And if you are interested in working for home base, please look for that posting and we would love to have you come work for a great team. Next slide. Speaking of the great team, there is the great team. Myself, I am Rob Dietrich. I'm the home-based manager, and Pam Batchelor and Justin Connor, Cayman Aaron, Tessa Hine, and you all are familiar with John Mars, Yolanda Wilson, Audrey Long, Russell Dixon, and Dr. Carmela Fair. We are all here for you. We're glad to have you and glad to see you here. So please let us know if there's anything we can do for you. And thank you, John. Take it over.
All right. And that bit.ly is on screen for you there as well if you need it. Welcome and good morning. So as you know, I'm John Mars, the product manager for Schoolnet and a trainer for all home-based applications here at NCDPI. And also joining me this morning from the Pearson world is our awesome implementation manager, Catherine Simone, and our support agent, Amanda Phillips. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you, if virtually only, again, and looking forward to today's meetups. Amanda?
Good morning. Looking forward to this, and I'll probably be seeing y'all virtually pretty often.
Just to clarify, Amanda Phillips is taking over for Lisa Jablow. Some of you have submitted tickets already and may have seen her name or her email responding to you. So look for her when you submit a ServiceNow ticket.
Awesome, thank you. So our objectives for today, some Schoolnet updates from DPI. We've got some tips for a new school year. We do have some breakout rooms planned. I think you folks tend to like those, so we will do those again. We've got a few topics there. We've got a training/work session on the new test details page. And then we will wrap up with some reflections and any Q&A that is left at that point. So as far as our DPI Schoolnet updates for you, the Schoolnet Google site is still out there and available. DPI will be shifting away from Google Sites at some point in the near future, but for now that Google site is still out there, and I just updated it with fresh new documents for version 23. So I went through every document that's listed on that page that's linked there for you, and pulled the latest versions from Pearson. So we should be all up to date there. You may have noticed as well that we've updated the branding ever so slightly on the Schoolnet production and training sites. It is clearer now in the header which one is production and which one is training. We also got our nice new home-based logo in there without the diamond. State-provided assessments, we are going to continue having the same state-provided assessments this year that we had last year, and we'll talk a little bit later about some of the details around those. But for now, I just wanted to let you know that they are coming back and they will be available for you. Updated self-paced courses. I know I've been saying this for a little while, but I'm this close to keeping it simple in Schoolnet 23 ready to release on Nisus. If you would like sort of a preview of that content, I did do a recording for NC Bold recently titled What's New in Schoolnet 23. And you can hit that link there to view that recording if you want sort of a early preview of what that course will be like. On that same note, upcoming self-paced courses, keep an eye out for these to be released throughout the school year. But I'm thinking one on advanced assessment creation, one on answer key only tests, and maybe performance-based tests. Perhaps something that speaks more to school and district administrators, some stuff like that. And certainly let me know if you have any other ideas for future self-paced courses or potential webinars. We are also open to doing live webinars. So just let us know what would help. And then finally, just wanted to brag because I'm kind of excited. The CTE department may be delivering a credential assessment via Schoolnet this year. So stay tuned for news on that. And with that, we will move into tips for a new school year, unless there were any questions there. Our chat is quiet, so I'll take that as a good sign. So Catherine and I just kind of pulled a few tips for starting the new school year. Just some common things that will make life a little bit easier. So first, we wanted to remind you that co-teachers may need to request access to sections in Schoolnet, depending on how you have those coded over in PowerSchool. Once those co-teachers request access, a user with leadership rights will need to approve. And if you check out the documents page on the Schoolnet Google site, there is a document for each of those steps. So there's one for co-teachers requesting, and there's one for leadership approving.
And remember that since our upgrade a year ago, co-teachers, once they request access, have all the same rights that the primary teacher does for a section, meaning that they can assign assessments, view the proctor dashboard, all the reporting features. So basically mimics the primary teacher's permissions in Schoolnet once the access is requested. And again, if you have any questions with that, either refer to the documents or you can put in a ServiceNow case and we can help you out with that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine. And next up, sort of on that same note, keep an eye on your PowerSchool enrollment dates. Those are very important in terms of Schoolnet. So 9 times out of 10, if maybe a teacher isn't seeing their section or a student is missing from a section, you'll want to double check your PowerSchool enrollment dates because those directly affect the sections over in Schoolnet. Prior to the start date, it doesn't really exist yet over on the Schoolnet side. So just keep an eye on those, make sure they're accurate, and certainly double check those if you see any data issues on the Schoolnet side first, just to make sure it's not something simple like that. Next up also, you may want to remind your teachers to check out the Student Profiles, Learning Plan, and Teacher Notes tab. If your teachers have been using that tab to make notes toward the end of the year, the next year teacher might want to take a peek at that as they begin their new year. And then finally, just a reminder, when you are putting in a support ticket through ServiceNow for Schoolnet, remember to provide this information in the ticket. It makes it a lot quicker for us to begin investigating and to assist you when we have all of the information up front. So that is district, the school, the test ID, which is very easily found now on the new test details page that we'll look at in just a little bit. The teacher or student name, it's not quite as simple to look up users by ID on the Schoolnet side, and Amanda and Catherine don't have access to your PowerSchool to just look it up there. So it is always best if you can give them a name, a detailed description of the issue, and of course, remember, screenshots are always appreciated if it seems like those will help. Catherine, anything else to add, or Amanda?
I do. Sorry. We had 2 cases so far this week, and I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. If your school district LEA has not opted into home base, you will not have access to Schoolnet. So Amanda has been sending out the information on how to opt in to home base. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, we've already had a couple cases this week. I guess people going to log into Schoolnet but haven't opted in. So teachers are unable to log in. So if you have any questions about that, just let us know also. Amanda, did you have anything to add?
I don't think so. Would it be helpful to maybe share a screenshot of what that page looks like when they don't have opted in?
I can do that. No, I don't have share rights. I'll do that when I have share rights. I can go back. Sorry, John.
No worries. Yeah, we can shift over to that in just a moment. But yes, thank
Yeah.
you. That is a great point. Be sure you have opted in. If you are not on the opt-in list, you will not be able to access the system. And that includes if your PSU is listed as undecided. We did not grant access to undecided, only opt-in. So please let us know if you have any trouble with that, and we can get you set up. And we did have a question come in, just double checking. Teachers do not need to be listed as co-teacher in PowerSchool to be able to request co-teacher access in Schoolnet, and that is correct. So the co-teacher request in Schoolnet has no bearing on how it's listed over on the PowerSchool side.
Correct.
So any other questions before we jump into our breakout rooms? All right. So as usual, we do have 2 breakout room topics. And get that set up. Okay. So we have 2 topics for you in thinking about Schoolnet in the 21-22 school year. So the first breakout room will be, would you be in favor of Pearson extending the terms in Schoolnet by 2 weeks? This would allow for exam retakes and makeups after the end of a term. As it stands right now, once a term ends in PowerSchool, it is over in Schoolnet. You can't take another test. You can't give a makeup assessment, nothing like that. So the thought would be for Pearson to look at that exit date that comes over from PowerSchool, add 2 weeks to it, and then put that into the Schoolnet application. So that would give you an extra 2 weeks to do exam retakes. The downside is for that 2 weeks, every teacher would see both their semester 1 and semester 2 classes at the same time, and there would really be no good way to differentiate between them other than looking at the list of students. So keep that in mind, and then we'll kind of discuss that in there. And then the second room, do you have any feedback on the state-provided assessments going into this year? A few updates there. We do plan to make 3 copies of the NCFEs and the released EOCs this year. At the end of last year, we got hit with a ton of tickets to clear test results for students on those exams because a student had taken it semester 1 and then retook the course semester 2, and now they needed to take the test again. Or, you know, maybe they needed to do credit recovery, something like that. So we thought having 3 copies of those just out there in the first place would assist you with that. The math sets and Certica testlets are already in BOY, MOY, and EOY forms, so those should be good to go. And then as far as recommending and assigning these state assessments, do you have any questions about assigning them? And how would you feel if we assigned them from the state level rather than just recommending them? And any assistance you may need. So I think I will probably jump into breakout room 1. If Catherine, you want to take 2, and
Sure.
give me just a moment to kind of title these rooms and get us set up.
Yep.
So, like I said, we will kind of debrief these 2 breakout conversations toward the end. So you've got a little extra time to marinate on them. But in the meantime, we will shift into our working/training session on the new test details page, and I will turn it over to Catherine for this.
So the first thing I wanted to share, and hopefully I'm sharing it, is that screen that Amanda mentioned earlier regarding if your school or district attempts to log into Schoolnet and you see this system general settings and nothing, you can't navigate on the left, that means most likely that you need to opt into home base, contact us, and we'll help you out. Okay. Any questions about that one? Okay, let me bring my slide deck over here. Okay, I'm going to do this a little differently today. And there we go. It's going to be kind of like a old-fashioned make and take, play along as we're demonstrating the new features. When we had discussed the 23.0, I guess in the last meetup, we had a great suggestion from the field that we would really need a little bit more detail on this because the interface has changed drastically related to what it previously looked like for users. So I will be working in the training site, not off a slide deck. And you are welcome to log into the training site or to your production site. If you use the training site, you can use this link here. Oops, I'm not presenting. Sorry, my mistake. View, present. You can use this link here, and that will take you to a set of logins for the training site. The training site URL is right here so that you can access it and then pick any one of these logins. I will be using, I think I use HBD Leader 8 is my login, and the home base lowercase is the password for any username on the training site. Let me get rid of a couple of these here. Screen is not so crazy. I'm going to drift away from the PowerPoint, but just to let you know, the remainder of the slide deck, which you have access to, is a set of directions and also the screenshots. So you can always refer to those later on. All right. So I'm logged here into the training site, and please stop me. I am not looking at the chat. So Amanda, I'm going to rely on you. If anyone has any questions or anyone, please feel free to speak out and jump in. Creating assessments this year. What you're going to drastically notice is the test details page. You create a test the same way you did before. So I'm just gonna, it's 23.0. You pick a subject. Sorry, I taught third grade math forever and a day, so that is my favorite subject. You generate your test. I'm just going to use items from the item bank. Amanda, is my screen presenting correctly so far?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, great. Just checking. You pick a couple items, and this part is all the same. Nothing has changed. So I just want to clarify that. Get a couple different ones in here. 6. Okay. Add to the test. And at this point, this is the screen that I like to finally call the creation screen for the items. So I've added 8 items, and if I needed to modify them, this would be where I do it. Up here in the top right, same as always, it's a return to the test details page. It's going to save my screen. And at this point, this is where we start seeing a lot of differences. Okay, as you recall before, maybe the test details page had the navigation down the left side, and you had test actions, schedule, etc. Okay, so what I'd like to do is give you a minute. If you want to jump to an old test, that you have in the system. If you want to populate a new test quickly, to do so, to bring up a screen and of the test detail page, and so that we can kind of poke around and make some comparisons here. And I want to see if anyone has any feedback on clicking around where's this, where's that type of scenario. So let me give you a minute. Let me know if you have any questions regarding how to get to that.
Yeah, I'll mention I dropped the link to the training site in the
Awesome.
chat too.
Thanks
But
very
like
much,
Catherine
John.
said, the production site has all of these updates now too. So
Yep.
if you want to look at real stuff and maybe get something done at the same time, two birds.
Yep. Okay. Anyone have any questions about getting to the test details page before I move on with some of the navigation? Okay. So first thing you're going to notice, here's the title of my test. I just called it 23.0 for the new updates. My test ID is prominent here. James, at one point in May or June, we talked about, yes, there are YouTube videos. I will get, I think I shared the links with John. I'm not sure if he made his own, James. But yes, there are videos available for this. We will make sure we get you those links, okay?
Yeah, I'll dig those up now. Thank you
Okay,
for the reminder.
sure, no problem. John, you can just Google Schoolnet YouTube 23.0 and it'll come up. That'll probably get you there the fastest. So right next to the test ID, this was buried before in the actions. I don't like the name of my test. It's kind of why I didn't make a big deal of it the first time, but 23.0, I'm going to call this practice. I edit it. I said, okay. And now my test name is changed right there. I have that option. Okay. Right away, I see what category of test it is. If you're a teacher, obviously you're only going to see the My Classroom test. But anyone with permissions above, you're going to see the category of the test here, grade, and subject. What I want you to notice is the naming convention for the stages has changed slightly. I am in draft currently. Before it used to be ready to schedule, schedule, in progress, complete. Okay, now you're going to see the word finalized instead. If you are leadership, you have the option right here on the next line to make this test public. You still have the co-author feature here. Same as before, when you click it, it opens that co-author screen and you can type the person's last name in and share the test with them. But I'm going to go ahead and make my test public, and you can see right away that it changed my categories. On my next row in this screen, so everything's a little bit more horizontal instead of vertical. That's just my visual of it. I can go back to the item bank here and add an item, or I can create my own. I can edit the current items. I can preview my test. To the right, copy, export, or delete my test. There. And we are looking currently at the item summary tab. Okay. The item summary tab is giving me just that, a summary of all the items that I just chose. Tells me the type of item, happen to choose all multiple choice, my standard alignment, the points, the correct response. I think, yes, there we go. So the items that I chose had a web. These happen to be all recall, so you can look at that there. These columns are all sortable. So if you wanted to put them in order, I have 3 OA2s, a 6, 2 7s, and 2 9s for my standards. The actions for each item, same as before, just off to the right now in the summary. I can view, edit, replace, remove, or timer off. Okay. This is all under, again, the item summary tab. And this is how the test details page is now organized, with these tabs going across item summary. So I'm going to give you a minute, if you're logged in there, to check out the item summary before we move and change screens to the item details. And if you have any questions, let me see. Oh, I noticed John put the YouTube video there in the chat. So give me a shout out if you have any questions about this page. Please click around. That's how I got better at it. Just clicking to see where things were located. You're not missing anything. There's a couple things that have been brought to be more prominent. So kind of hopefully make the navigation easier. Right here, I failed to mention this, it says add directions. So if you're giving directions for the entire test, click that button, pop up, and these were those directions that the students will see on the first screen once they log into the test. So you would have that here. So I'm just going to put practice and save my instructions. Okay, and there I can see my instructions. I can edit if necessary. Okay. Anyone have any feedback or questions on that page? All right, I will take that as a no. I'll move on. Going across to the right, we're going to go to the item details, which is going to basically just change my view a little bit. I'm still, my title, still have the ability to edit in this stage. Everything is staying the same at the top here. Let me mention this because before, a lot of times with leadership, you're looking for a test and the created by is right there. So you kind of had to dig a little bit to find that before. Right now, this is my standards template. These are the standards that I've chosen. If I wanted to change it, I could click here. Remember my instructions that I just put in. And now in the item details, as opposed to the summary, I'm actually seeing the questions that I've chosen and not just a summary of them. I can expand or collapse all items, still see all the same metadata that you saw on the previous page. It's just not in a neat table that you had seen previously, because we're now viewing the items and we have the ability to change the item here. Okay. So I can scroll through, I can edit my items, I can remove items. Let me see if I want to replace this item. Takes me right back to the item bank, load some items that were aligned to O to the 7. I can pick another one and add it to the test in place of the one that I had before. Okay. You can always open it up to view more. Remember, you always have the ability to modify an item. When you click edit, it's going to take you back to this creation screen where you can, let's see, I want to delete an answer choice maybe for some of my students and only give them 3 answer choices on that one. I want to give them an extra direction. Okay, I've edited that item and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go back up here to review my test details. And it takes me right back to the item summary. Okay, you can see if anything changed there, but I'm going to go back to where I was on the test details. All right. From here, if I'm satisfied, just like before, that everything's great, notice you still have the green coding, which means that there are no errors with this item. There are no warnings, nothing that it's going to prevent you from moving this test forward to schedule it. and I'm all set with it. Now, instead of the blue button saying ready to schedule, it says finalize the test. Okay. I'm not going to click that yet because I want to go and show you some of the other features. Moving to the next tab, my test settings. This lot of these were pretty well hidden in the previous test detail page, but this was restrictions. A lot of you, when we were discussing the final exams, you may have noticed that there were restrictions for viewing content if you were looking at those. So this is where you can edit restrictions for teachers or students here for the test. You just open, edit, click a box or unclick a box, and no restrictions, save, and your restrictions will appear here, whatever you've chosen. If you are overriding cut scores, this was under the bottom, under customized test, I think it was, and you had to get to the schedule portion, but here I can override the cut scores. So if my second score group is not 89, maybe this one, I want to make this 92. This one's going to be 82. I can adjust these here. I'm just doing some random adjusting. Again, this is just for this individual test. Okay, I can save that. And now you're going to see my cut scores here. I can edit any of the properties of the test in this particular screen. So if you're not allowing printing, you can deselect. It defaults to allow printing. If you want to change the font size of the test, this is where this would be. Hiding any information. I'm not going to change any of these settings, but this is where you would locate this information. Okay. Accommodations. Line reader, magnifier, enabling text-to-speech for passages, save, and there you go. Okay. And the item defaults. You do have the option to set this up when you first create the test, but now you still have the availability within the test details. So you can change how you want the answer choice positioning, tools and manipulatives, open response formatting, simple text, or use the item settings, or you can answer choice layout. Okay. Again, these are all under the test settings. So that's where you are able to locate any of those. Any questions about that particular tab? Comments? Okay. Under the downloads and resources tab, here again, you can download the test booklet either in a Word doc, PDF. This is where you're going to access this information, and answer keys, cover sheets, and then you can add associated resources. Let's say it's a social studies test and you want to add a map. I'm sorry, wrong place, my mistake, misspoke there, disregard. This would be if you were giving any additional instructions for teachers, the associated resources. So if teachers need a reference for a rubric or reference for background information for the test or scoring the test, you could add it to the associated resources tab for the teachers. Okay. Any questions about those two particular tabs? Okay. So as I mentioned before, once you have the tests the way you want it to appear, everything's correct, you have green lines, every question is great, you're going to move forward and you can click finalize the test. It's going to give you that warning that you saw previously, but you can say okay. I'm ready to go. And now you're going to see a new banner. Previously, we had the option to edit the items. No longer. We can only modify them. We no longer have the ability to edit the title. As you recall, once we move forward to schedule, we lose the ability to edit the title. But the test settings remain available. The item details remain available. It's just that you have view or modify, no longer edit. If I'm still satisfied with this assessment, I can go forward to schedule the test at this point. And you're all familiar with this window. Set your dates, start, end, score test. If you've set up at the district level test windows, you can link to a test window here. If you've already set up your personal template for scheduling tests, you can apply it here. If you are assigning directly to students, remember this is very important. You can apply the default assignment or you can select an assignment. If you're at the district level just recommending to schools, you can use this or to recommend to teachers. I'm going to leave this apply default setting. I'm going to leave the assignment blank for a minute because I want to show you something on the next screen. Online passcode, you can change it. We don't recommend it because we recommend that it's computer generated to be unique. You still have your ability to link to Canvas here. If you're using the secure tester, if you want it to display on the students take a test page. If you are allowing students to review the test on their homepage, assigning only allow students assigned to take the test or restrict access during certain times. You only want this test open during the school day. You can set the hours, etc. And you can disable the student selection, meaning that it'll default to, this is a third grade math test, it'll default to their third grade math class when they select the test. I always like to track and display the student response time. Remember, you have that feature. You can scramble the tests, etc. If you're timing the test. When I save and publish this, remember, oops, I didn't put my dates in. Let me just choose a date here. Today is gives me the warning that it's not assigned there. So that's chance one. But on the new test details page, rather than going back in the scheduling settings, I can see right here my start date, my end date, my score date, and this test has not been assigned. So we get a lot of, the reason why I keep pointing this out is we get a lot of ServiceNow cases related to accessing results or not being able to view results, teachers not being able to access the test, etc. This is what's controlling that, assigning the test. So I'm going to go back to edit my schedule and settings. And from this screen, I'm going to apply the default assignment. You can select yours if you need to. But once I do that and I save it, now you're going to see that my assignment is showing the sections. Okay. So just making things a lot clearer for the user to see that this test is there. And because I had past dates, it's showing completed. I want to jump screens for a minute and show you, I had already pre-populated a completed test with student results. Once students start taking the test, in the new test detail page, The test collection report is going to be prominent right below the banner at the top there. So you can see that 5 students took this test. The threshold was not met. I can go right to the data collection report from here, and I can look at all my schools, or let me see, here's a school, or the sections, which teachers administered the test, and drill all the way down to the section from there to see which students have completed the test. Again, that's coming from the test details page, the data collection report. I can export the test results here, or right from the test details page, now I have the option to go right to the results summary. It's going to take me right to the reporting dashboard from there. Okay, so if you're working within the test, you would have that screen. Let me go back to my test details. A couple of things. I don't know if anyone's still scanning or using answer sheets. You have that feature right here. Once the test is completed, you still have the notice that you need to copy the test if you wanted to use it again. Okay, so we are at the time of year where people are looking at their tests from last year. If you're going back and looking at your tests from last year, you're going to see this screen. Make sure that you are copying the test before you attempt to schedule it for this year. Okay, and here under the drop down, you still have copy test, export, generate answer keys, view usernames, track accommodations. So this test is in progress and I want to get my students' usernames. They're right here. Okay. And that's kind of a full circle of where the new features are under the test detail page. If you're clicking around and you found something that you have a question about, or where's this, or I used to do this with my test, I can't find it, let us know. Let me see, any questions?
And I'll mention real quick, if you're looking for the Power Teacher Pro gradebook sync stuff, of course that's not set up in our training site, but that stuff lives inside that little assignment sort of category quadrant of the banner there, is where you would see that. And it has been tested with the new version of Power School. All good.
And again, as I mentioned, if you are need, we'll say the click pass, they're in the slide deck. There are multiple slides there going through each page that we've just seen in the training site. So if you need those directions, they're right there.
I do have a quick question. So, you know, the
Sure.
depth of knowledge and blooms and all of that used to be in the chart. Is there a way to look at all 3 at once, or do you have to change your drop down for that?
When you're creating the test, you would need to change the drop down. I think you may have been, were you looking at them side by side in a report after the fact of taking the test?
No, just, you know, in the old version, you would see the item and then you would see that little chart that had kind of what, I guess, the information about the item. And if I remember correctly, it did show each of the different rigor measures instead of one at a time. And, you know, some of the items are one and some of the items are others, or at least they're not all listed with only depth of knowledge or only bloom. Some of them are a collection of multiple rigor standards. So I was just curious if you were able to see more than one measure at the same time.
I'm trying to. So here's the only place where I see multiple measures with them.
Yeah, I think that's what it on the screen for a test, you know, when it would show the item, it used to show that property list next to it.
Okay.
That's the only thing I'm missing that I wish was still there.
So I see. It's one or the other. Okay. All right. I will note that for sure. I didn't realize that was a change. Thank you. Okay. I'll have to see if that's something they can change in the settings. Great point. Thank you for the comment. Thanks, James. And there's also the video, and obviously John recorded this, so you'll have this. And please feel free to have your teachers use those logins for the training site to practice, if you like. Okay. Anyone else? I'm sure they will. Teachers will find many more questions. You are absolutely right. I agree. Okay. Can you think of anything I missed there, John or Amanda?
I don't think so. I think the only other thing I'd say is when your test is in progress, you'll see the link to the Proctor dashboard up in the white banner
Oh,
at the
yes,
top.
I didn't show one of those in progress. Good point, John. I had a whole bunch of tests made up. Let me get one scheduled. And I'm in as an administrator, so
Oh, right.
so that's also the other reason why you're not seeing a Proctor dashboard, but I can skirt around that. Give me a second. Should be able to. Yep. And there's the Proctor dashboard. For an administrator. For a teacher, it's going to be very prominent where it is. But for the administrator, you can always get to the Proctor dashboard via the data collection report if you need to. At least that's how I do it.
I didn't even know that, so thank you.
Oh, okay. Yes. So if this is not your test, if you are not the teacher administering the test, you can always go to the data collection report. You obviously need to drill down and navigate to. Let me get to the one of the tests that there are results. Oh, this wasn't the one I took. Hang on. Let me get one where the kids took it already, John. I'm sorry. That was my mistake.
No worries.
Schedule completed. Here it is. Okay, so data collect. I think I might need to go to the one that was completed. That had the results. So data collection report. This particular school has some results. This teacher has some results. This section has students taking it. I open the Proctor dashboard. And now as an administrator, I can see these students completed it. You can open up this test, you can resume it. And as an administrator, I now have that ability through the Proctor dashboard if needed. On this particular test, I don't think I have any that I needed to score, so.
Catherine, I think I know the answer to this, but a district person like me cannot resume anything for a teacher in a My Classroom test, right?
Correct. I
We'll
have
see
put
it
that
anyway.
in. I put that in as a request though, James, just so you know. because a couple
Oh,
people
yes.
asked for that.
I can't tell you how easy life would be if, rather than having to try to explain how to get to the Proctor dashboard, if they just said, I just have this one kid, they hit the button too soon. If I could go back and do that for them, life would be,
Right.
that would save a bunch.
I agree. I completely agree. I did request it. I know that other, not just North Carolina, other people across the country have requested it. So hopefully that's something they will really consider, because I agree with you. It would save a lot of time, if we were able to show and do that from there. So with the My Classroom test, for sure.
Because inevitably what happens is if the teacher just doesn't understand, then you have to ask them if they will give you their credentials so you can log in. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's also not the smartest way to do that, I don't think. If we can't change anything on the test, that's fine. But just being able to help support them, it's almost like the way it's set up now, it creates more red tape to be able to help people. Because you know this. I'm just kind of reiterating it.
No, I agree. I definitely agree, for sure. Like I said, I did request it, so hopefully that's something we can push them on a little bit.
And if it matters in the conversation, you know, the true testament of that came during remote learning, because there were many instances of teachers needing, when they didn't have those children in front of them, you know, they needed more help, and we were not very helpful because there was just really nothing we could do except get their login and go through. So I would definitely say we learned a lot, and knowing districts, probably the days of a snow day are probably long gone. There's going to be a lot of working that's going on at home still in the future. You know, again, I would just totally, if you need a testimonial, tell me who to testimonialize to, and I will send it.
Okay, I will give them your name, Jameson. Sounds good. No, I do. I really do agree with you on that one, for sure.
Okay, apologies. So reflections, kind of wrap up. So in terms of breakout room debriefing, in the breakout room I was in, we were discussing the idea of term extensions. And I think what we pretty much came to there, is that I will design a form that will go out. If your PSU would like to opt in to extending your terms in Schoolnet, you'll just complete this form. You'll let me know what PSU, and you'll let me know what date you want that term extended to. Now, keep in mind, it would be one extension date for the whole district. So if you've got schools on different schedules, you know, your early college might get extended 4 weeks, while your traditional high school is only getting extended 2 weeks. But we think that will work. The only detail there is if you opt into term extensions for that period of time that semester 1 has been extended over top of semester 2, your teachers are going to see both sets of classes, and it's not necessarily going to be super clear which is which, for that extension period. Anyone who was in that room, did I miss anything, or does anyone have any comments on that? All right. And then Catherine, do you want to kind of summarize what
Sure.
was discussed in the other?
So, one, it seemed like, with the 3 copies of the final exams and the release items, in favor of that. 4, I brought up the question of the Certica beginning of the year ELA. It would be a great request to have those BOYs realigned to current grade level year standards. Many of you that may have used the Certica ELA tests from the previous year, They were aligned to the previous year's standards because of remote learning and the year being adjusted drastically and abruptly. But now the point was brought up that since we now have the data from the end of this year, we wouldn't need basically baseline data from the year before. So possibly we could adjust, but also using the MOI at the lower complexity was definitely worthwhile. As far as assigning them directly, we heard from Leslie on that, and she said that rather than assigning them directly, maybe if we could post a reminder or an announcement to teachers and leadership, maybe on the splash of Schoolnet, hey, these are available. If you can't access them, please reach out to your administrator. Basically communicating the information a little bit more so the teachers can request that they be scheduled to their classes, as opposed to assigning them directly. Okay, and the other request we had for the final exams, I know that Accountability posted their final exam PDFs. And John, you and I will probably need to discuss this later, but if we could export the Word document of the final exams from Schoolnet, each version, and post it in a secure place that the test coordinators could pick up for anyone needing that accommodation of paper and pencil. So that was also a great suggestion.
Cool. Yeah, and that last one on the PDFs, we can definitely take that back, Catherine, you and I, and we can pull Accountability in and see if we can do that. But as long as the test licensing that DPI has will allow us to do that, I think we can get that done. So I do want to kind of bring up direct assigning the state assessments, and just kind of see what the larger group thinks of this. James and I actually talked about this kind of briefly in the other breakout room. So I'm creating that form for term extension opt-ins. I thought perhaps on that same form, I would ask if your PSU wants those tests direct assigned or if you want them recommended. And I'll mention too, I think the default response, if a PSU doesn't submit this form, my default would be no term extension and direct assign the assessment. So basically tell us if you don't want the assessments automatically available for your teachers. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Do you hate that? Let me know.
I'm really good with them being directly assigned, especially the released NCFEs, if that's the primary one you're referring to. I think the Certica benchmarks and the other things, I don't necessarily want those, sent out, but I do think for the NCFE released, it's at the end of the semester. We're going to do, if you're using them, you're going to do them anyway. So having them directly assigned is helpful.
Okay. And that's a great point. I hadn't really thought in terms of, NCFEs going out, Certica's not going out. But that's a great point since there are a lot more choices with the Certica assessments, right, than there are the NCFEs.
And then we also have the math sets to consider.
That's a great point. So maybe we need to think about that more. Maybe the NCFEs get direct assigned while the math sets and the Certicas just get recommended. And we can still kind of have that opt-in form for anyone out there who, loves district control and doesn't want those going out without their explicit say-so, which is fine, So any other comments on this? I'm gonna kind of work on this form and kind of think through some of these details, especially in terms of assigning or recommending the state tests. The term extensions, I think we've got pretty well hammered out, and we'll have you guys opt in if you want to try that out, and see how it goes. And Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't really need them to let us know about the term extension opt-in until, I mean, we can implement that term extension in the end of August or September or something if we needed
Correct.
to, right? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm going to get that form done this week. I do have to put that through an approval process now at DPI to make sure we're not over-forming you folks. But I should be able to get that form approved this week and get it out to you next week. And we could make it due maybe by the end of August, to let us know about your term opt-ins. And in terms of state assessments, I think I might discuss that internally a little bit and maybe give a few of you fine folks a call if you don't mind, and just really make sure we've got those details worked out. I'm almost wondering if it's better to just assign the NCFEs and recommend everything else alongside that increased communication, like Leslie mentioned, through the splash page. That might be the way to go. Kind of a mix of both.
Good. Yep.
So, all right, any other questions or comments or anything we didn't discuss that you want to know about? Please let me know. Right, and if not, there
John,
is...
I have
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was waiting till this is looking forward. So for September's meetups, we had a suggestion back, I guess during the last one or prior to, regarding answer key only assessments and performance-based assessments, including rubrics. So those will be our, John and I are looking at our featured topics for September. I would love it if anyone has an answer key only or a PBA that you would like me to use as the showcase and how to create it. I'm really trying to move away from the slide decks to have people participate in actually, doing the activities with us. So we'll be working in the training site again. If you have something that you would like us to create for you or demonstrate the creation of, please let us know. So that would be the next upcoming topic. And then we were looking at custom reporting for the following one. So again, we're flexible. Whatever you would like to see or have us demonstrate for you would be great, or create. Thanks, John.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything else? Anything at all for the good of the cause? Okay. So if not, I will certainly hang out here a bit longer. But otherwise, you folks are free to go. Please consider providing feedback on this session using the bit.ly link here on screen. I'll go ahead and shift to our last slide here. That bit.ly link does also give you the opportunity to request a certificate for CEUs for attending and participating today. But note, you do not have to provide your information or receive a certificate. You can just give us anonymous feedback too if you prefer. So that is there for you. And if not, thank you very much for joining us today, for sacrificing one of your last days of summer to hang out with us. I hope you all have an awesome start to your school year, and as always, please feel free to let us know if there's anything we can assist with. You can put in a ServiceNow ticket to get all of us. You can certainly email me if it's, not really a technical problem per se, but more an implementation question sort of thing. but we are all here to support you. Thank you again, and I hope you all have an awesome day.